Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. This is the after game review for the Dallas Stars versus Minnesota Wild game. And boy, that was rough. Let's go ahead and bring Ryan in for the interaction. Ryan, bring yourself in, I guess. How you doing, Ryan? Having a great day?
Oh, I was expecting you to do a better job on the intro there, Christian.
I mean, you threw it at me last second,
I
so
did,
I
yes.
don't know what you want me to say. What's your initial reaction to that game, Ryan?
It's unfortunate. Is more than anything. I thought the Stars were the better team overall. They
Mm-hmm.
had better chances throughout all three periods. Um, and I think two individual mistakes screwed us over tonight. Two
Yeah.
individual mistakes, which we'll talk about here later on. But
Yeah,
what
you
did you think?
didn't you didn't ask what I think, but I kind of agree. After the first 5 minutes of the game, Stars were definitely the better team. We deserved to win this game, but once again, the guy who always plays amazing against us, Marc-Andre Fleury, does it once again. I mean, shuts us down. Stars can't finish, and then has an amazing primary assist on the game-winning goal. So that dude always beats us. What can you do?
Yeah. And I mean, Twitter is ablaze right now from Stars fans. So, I'm just gonna go straight into it because I think I
Well,
kind of blew up the ticket post game show a little bit. I was
well,
the
well,
first
real,
caller on the post game show tonight. So
Real quick, before we get to the negative stuff, because there's a big one that all the Stars fans are talking about.
yeah.
Of course, we'll get to that. This was a good game by the Stars. We
Hmm.
played well. We deserved to win. We got beat by a good goalie. So overall, and we got the point. That's the important thing. So if we didn't get the point and we played like this, I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
But
go ahead.
we found a way to get the point. We played good. Fleury was just better. Of course, we need to find ways to bury pucks, but getting the points is important. Playing well against a good team like this is important. This is how we would win a series against a team like this, and I'm overall happy about this game.
This is a game I'm not mad about in the fact that we lost. I'm upset, but I'm not mad, if that makes any sense. I'm
Yeah,
upset that we didn't get the 2 points that we deserved because we were the better team tonight. By
yeah,
far, we're the better team, especially in that third period.
oh yeah,
We were all over the place, especially the from like the 15-minute mark to the 5-minute mark. We were just all over the place on the Minnesota Wild. But uh, I can't fault them for what they did. They did everything right. They did everything right. The only thing that could have gone better is the Stars bury their chances more, and someone else other than Pavelski, Robo, or Hintz does something offensively. And we didn't really see that from any other line other than those three guys tonight. There was some good cycle from all four lines. All four lines did pretty good cycling, but
I'll give especially the fourth line cycled really good,
yeah,
but like I always say, they cycle well, they get to the point, and then they don't really get good chances. So they gotta someone on that line has got to like take it upon themselves to be like, okay, I'm gonna be the guy. I'm gonna shoot and I'm gonna make a play because it feels like
mhm,
they're all just kind of like, oh, I don't want to make a play. I don't want to make a play. I don't want to make a play. Someone's gotta take control of the offense on that line, in my
right.
opinion.
And I'm just gonna go ahead and go straight into the overtime thing because that's the biggest thing that's blowing up on Twitter right now with Stars fans is the fact that I'm gonna stick up for Bones here. I am, believe it or not, even though I'm I was off the fire bonus train and then I was on it and then now I'm off of it and then I'm on I'm just back and forth. But for this particular case, I'm gonna defend him for this. All right. So here's my thing about this. Who did Rick Bonus start in the overtime tonight? Who did he start?
The Cheeks guys.
So Foxa, Glendening, and then I don't even know who the defenseman was, but it didn't matter who the defenseman was. They started the fourth line guys in overtime when we need a goal, right? I understand it. I understand, and Bruce made a absolute fantastic argument when I was talking with him on the ticket. Was the fact that this strategy for the Stars has worked. It has worked. I mean, there's a reason why the Stars are 14 and now 5, I guess, in time after 60 minutes. They're the best team in the NHL when it comes to overtime, and it's because they've instituted this strategy and it works for them. And so what I don't understand about Stars fans is why they're so up in arms, and maybe it's like a vocal minority or something like that. Why they're all upset about it, because it's worked. It's worked for the
Yeah.
Stars.
Yeah,
So I
that's
mean, but you're going to complain about something when we have like 3 times as many wins than we do losses. And it's just unfortunate that when we
yeah.
lose this game, that it happens to be Fox and Glendenning on the ice, and then they weren't even on the ice when the goal was scored. The people on the ice that when the goal was scored was Robertson and I would assume Hintz. Robo I knew for sure, but
Yeah.
I don't understand the logic from Stars fans who are saying, being all fired up about the fact that they started those 2 guys, because it's worked.
Yeah. That's not the thing that I'm most upset about in this game, but I do see where people are coming from too, though, right? Because you think you're starting those guys and you're taking the puck off the stick of our best players. I mean, that's what it does. It's been successful recently, so I don't fault Bones for doing it. I think, that's one thing they've been doing well. I'm going to shut up. Doesn't matter what my opinion is if their results are showing, which they are. But I understand why people are upset because you're not letting your best players win the game. Honestly, you're betting on your worst players to win the game for you, or to give you a chance to win the game when you could just let your best players be your best players. So my philosophy in that would be to do that, but I don't think that that's totally correct because of what you said. They have the history behind it of starting Foxa and Glendening and it working out well. So the thing that I'm more upset about in this game is the way time on ice was managed pretty much overall, especially with Jacob Peterson.
Yeah,
Uh,
Peterson in particular, I agree.
he ends the game with less than 6 minutes of time on ice, no power play time. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, this guy has a goal and an assist against this team in the season series. He was scratched for the other game. He's only played 2 games against him. I mean, he produces all the time, and we punish him for doing it. And we say, oh, we'd rather play Studenic or we'd rather play Glendening on his line because we need a face off. Doesn't matter if you win the face off, you're not gonna score with Glendening. I mean, I'm sorry to say, he's been great defensively, and that line has done well checking. They're not gonna score, and in a game when we couldn't buy a goal, you're gonna need a guy who can score goals.
Right, and sorry, I'm trying to look up the goals right here because
Yeah, and while you're doing that,
yeah,
I'll push it even further. Not even just those checking line guys, because they definitely have a role. The guys who Peterson needs to be playing above, even more so, is the 2 guys who made the biggest mistakes tonight, and that's Gurionov and Radulov. 2 blatant individual defensive mistakes. The first one, Gurionov, Hanley makes a great play, ties the guy up all the way to the corner. All Gurionov has to do is be in front of the net, and instead he's just gliding in no man's land, looking like an idiot. And then Radulov just makes a dumb play trying to be too aggressive. I mean, this isn't a team that scores shorthanded goals. They have the least amount of shorthanded goals in the league, and we're giving that up to them. I mean, it can't happen. And Peterson definitely deserves a spot over both of those guys. He plays harder, he gets more scoring chances, and he scores more too. So
he scores more with less time than
Yeah.
both of those guys.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm getting at.
He had his point percentage like per 60 minutes on ice is like top 5 on our team. Yeah. And we're giving him 5 minutes in a primetime game.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So obviously the goal leaders, Robo, Hintz, Pavelski, and then obviously Seguin and Ben, and then Nemestikov is up there with 14. And Peterson is there at 12. And Gurionov.
What's that? Sorry.
For goals. Goals complete. Gotcha. Just regular goals. Just nothing strange. Goals. Nothing big. Now Gurionov is only
for time on ice.
Yeah, not even adjusted for time on ice.
Hey, now Zach, what's up?
Peterson has
Radulov's so bad.
Zach agrees with me. Radulov sucks.
He had a really bad game.
Oh yeah, Radulov sucked.
Radulov had a terrible game. But in anyways, this goes to
in person this time.
In person.
Usually it's just through the comments.
Hi Zach. Bye Zach.
Well, and anyways, Peterson has 1 more than Gurionov, right? And he's got what, 8 more than Radulov?
With at least half their ice time, because he wasn't even on the team in the first half of the season.
Right. And See, that's something that I don't understand, and I fully understand the argument that I'll go ahead and pull this up by Brandon because I talked with this about with Owen and Bruce about it on the post game show, but they went off about Radulov playing on the power play instead of Peterson. Reason they gave was because PD is a rookie and hasn't been in that scenario. I'm sorry, that is BS. So, but I totally understand the argument. I do, but I mean, is there nobody better than Radulov?
No,
I guess.
Peterson is better than right. Saying someone shouldn't be in a spot just because they're a rookie is such dated thinking. It's the same reason why Ottinger wasn't our starter to begin the season. Which look everybody, I'm right. Like even though Wedgwood played the last 2 games, honestly shouldn't have played this game. He played fine. He definitely wasn't the win condition, like I say with my gamer terms. But yeah, not playing someone because they're young is a stupid reason. It's just a dumb reason. I mean, he's a goal scorer. He finds spots on the ice to score. He is perfect to be in the high slot position on the power play. There's no reason he shouldn't be there. End of story.
And I agree with you for the most part. I do. I'm like 90% with you there. Just that 10%. I understand what Owen and Bruce are saying about that. I don't agree with them just because. I mean, he's got
It's
12
wrong.
goals. He's got 12 goals, and the fact that he doesn't get even the chance. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have at least given the chance.
Well, earlier in the season, it had to have been like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna try and work and get Peterson on the power play." And where is he now? Nowhere. We're leaving Radulov on there who has no goals this season. None. I mean, he's just not doing his job. His job is to get the best players the best opportunities. And like he says, at some point the players got to do their jobs. Well, he's not giving our players who are able to score a chance to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening.
But I don't think it deserves, calling for his job and saying he needs to be fired just because of this.
Well, there's plenty of reasons I can give for it. Well, this is just another one to pile on top, and I'm just tired of calling for his job because it's not going to happen.
Right. But, and I got to defend him tonight for that just because he's getting like trolled on Twitter right now by Stars fans, just upset with the fact that Fox and Glendening started. So full circle all the way back. But anyways, let me go ahead and get into this because this was a little bit of contention. Not really, because I thought it made sense. Ardell's calling you out. Chris, Wedgwood shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning. What do you mean?
Tampa Bay, absolutely.
Tonight. I disagree.
Tampa Bay was amazing. I just think that taking Otter out of the net when he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't play bad and is getting swapped out.
He hasn't played. He hasn't played bad, but he also hasn't played like amazing like he did when he was the goalie. Then it was Adam Scheel who was his backup. He hasn't played as well as he had, and Wedgwood had a fantastic game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So
absolutely.
So did you think he deserved that start tonight, or do you still think that you would have given
deserved the start? Yes, he deserved the start. I disagree with the decision of not saying and like solidifying that Otter is your number 1 goalie, because like what this says is the battle's back on, and like for Otter, who's battled all season to be the starting goalie, literally survivor style, he's the last one standing, and we still can't give him confidence and like be confident in him. That's what I'm upset about. I'm happy with Wedgewall. I'm happy with Wedgwood, and the way he's been playing great. Starting him is never a bad decision because of how he's playing. I would just rather put confidence in our young goalie, who I think is the guy we're going to ride in the playoffs. I mean, I don't think we should be flipping back and forth between goalies once we get to the playoffs. And if we really think Wedgwood is the answer for the entirety of the playoffs, I just think that's wrong.
We're in trouble if Wedgwood is our starter for the playoffs, in my opinion.
That's what it's looking like. They're trying to do a battle with 10 games left in the season, and that's too late.
I really think it's just because Wedgwood has done really well lately, and he's been hot. He still hasn't lost in regulation.
If he's hot going into the playoffs, are we sticking with Wedgwood through the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. No, Otter is the guy. He is the number 1 guy, and
it doesn't seem like it right now. He doesn't seem like the guy right now.
I disagree. I think he is, and I mean, I know there's some people that are saying, "Oh, Wedgwood is our new number one starter," like on Facebook and
That's
stuff
what
like
Bones
that.
is saying.
And I'm
You give him
like,
back-to-back
no, 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 no,
starts.
no, 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 no. I'm like,
Back-to-back starts like that,
dude.
he's saying he's the starter.
Well, I'm gonna back off on that and just and say no, no, you're wrong. Otter is still the number one starter, and he is the goalie. He is the guy. It's not Wedgwood. And
I hope so.
if there's
That's
any
what I'm worried
question,
about with this. Starting Wedgwood after a great game, totally cool with it, like if it was in the middle of the season, especially. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's just when we're coming down to the wire, I feel like you've got to have that who's going to be your starter in the playoffs solidified, and that's why I just don't like it.
I understand it. You want to go ahead and get into the goal summary first, or do you
Go
want to do
for it.
biggest winner, biggest loser?
Oh shoot, biggest winner, biggest loser. You go first, biggest winner.
Biggest winner tonight was Marc-Andre Fleury. The guy played lights out. He was obviously the better of the two goaltenders. Wedgwood was solid. He made some good saves, but he's not a Vezina winning caliber goaltender like Marc-Andre Fleury is. And not only did Marc-Andre Fleury only give up 2 goals tonight, but the second goal, which he should have gotten, he made up for in overtime, and he got the assist. He got the
Amazing
primary
pass.
assist. So, I mean, he is the biggest winner. Biggest loser, it's shared tonight. It's Radulov and it's Gurianov. Yeah, I'm gonna take it because you got to find somebody else. Radulov, that turnover at the blue line on the power play was really bad, and then Gurianov, he was in the right position. He was in the right spot.
Wasn't.
He was in the right position, but he
needed
got
to be
caught
5 feet
puck
forward.
watching. He got caught puck watching rather than paying attention to Fiala, who was on the other side of the ice.
I mean, a terrible defensive play either way. Doesn't matter.
Terrible defensive play. Yep, 100% agree.
My biggest winner is Gaudreau. 2 assists in the, I guess, regulation time, and then the game winner at the end. I mean, his offense, him and Fiala pretty much single-handedly beat us on the offensive side. Biggest loser is going to be all of the forwards except for the first line because they didn't produce. I mean,
ain't that the
if
truth?
we're only going to have one line, this is what's going to happen. We're going to play it close. We're going to play a good defensive game, which we totally did. We're going to have lots of chances on all the other lines, which we did we've had those all season long. Someone's got to bury something. We need goals from somewhere else. We can't have just goals from one line and expect to win a 7-game series against a very good hockey team. It's not going to happen.
Right. And really quick before I get into it, because Brandon's mentioning this. I don't know if you heard about this, Chris, but there was a little incident between Evander Kane and Ryan Hartman, former Dallas Stars player for like 2 days. And and he got fined for it. Ryan Hartman did, for displaying a certain type of gesture that is not appropriate for television. So yeah, and you know what? Another biggest winner. Wild fans, set up a Venmo for him and said they were gonna pay his fine for flipping off Evander Kane.
What a week for Wild fans! Man, they've had a good week.
Man.
Also,
man, that's hilarious.
Thank you, Hartman. Evander Kane is such a trash player and human.
Agreed.
That's it. I mean, there's nothing else. There's
nothing else to say about that. But anyways, I love the fact that they did that. So shout out to Ryan Hartman and the Wild fans for doing that. So anyways, let's get into this game. We're 20 minutes in. We're just not getting into it. I got a lot of notes tonight too. I'm going to try to go fast.
We'll speed through it. Skip some of them.
Yep. Reward start for Wedgwood. 19 minutes remaining. Heiskanen with the point shot. Tipped, goes wide off the rebound. Chance for Foxa. So Foxa gets a chance right off the bat. There were a lot of good blocks by the Stars early on, and literally 10 seconds after I wrote that, Fiala scores from Gaudreau, and he takes it backhand, and it was Gurianov, who probably should have been there on the defensive side and did not take care of that. So it's 1-0 Minnesota at this point.
Yeah, nothing else. Hanley made a great play. I'm going to give that to him too because I gave him a lot of crap earlier in the season. Hanley has been great recently. He's been outstanding. Yeah, there you go, Ardell. He said that before I even did, so he called that one. But Hanley's been great. and I really love the way he's been playing. He's playing himself into a spot going into the playoffs is what he's doing because he's giving us physicality, which we need, and he's just being solid with Klingberg. I'm loving it so far. And Gurianov screwed the pooch. I mean, Hanley made a great play. Nothing else he can do.
Right. So Robo would get a shot from Hintz, a 2-on-1 rush chance. Fleury with a great save. I mean, if you elevate that shot just a little bit more, maybe you get an extra chance. But it was a good shot by Robo nonetheless. And then they go into the whole Stars lose to really bad teams, and they beat the really good teams in the ESPN broadcast. And Brian Boucher actually mentioned it.
Which we all knew, but we never put a stat to it. So it's good to see that we're not crazy.
Right. I mean, like 2 wins against Minnesota, 2 against Colorado, a couple against Pittsburgh.
But I did also like what he said is like, at this point in the season, who cares? After this, we're only playing good teams. So focus on the fact that you beat good teams. I mean, for being a wild card team, that's a great stat to have, honestly, that you beat good teams because we're going to have to do that a lot.
14:25 remaining in the first. Kaprizov would hit the crossbar, almost makes it 2-0 Minnesota early there. Shots are 6-5 Minnesota, 12 minutes in, and I wrote, about the 11-minute mark, Dallas was having more trouble getting out of their own zone than Minnesota was. Now, it wasn't egregious and it wasn't bad, but they were still having more problems getting out of their own zone than Minnesota was. So Minnesota was really pressing with their forecheck at that point.
And it was just poor passing, too. I mean, there was lanes open, and they just weren't getting hit.
And there was also some good pressure by Dallas later on there, about 45 seconds later. There was a good play by Zuccarello, who I still wish was a Dallas Star. Ben with a good chance on the backhand. Studenic would have a good shot. Fleury has looked good early on, and I wrote, uh-oh. Eriksson Ek would have a good shot. Wedgwood with a good save. Jamie Benn turns the puck over, about 7:15 remaining, and it allows for a possible Minnesota chance, but thankfully nothing comes of it. And then I wrote 6 minutes left in the first period. Dallas is getting it into the Minnesota zone, but they're not able to control the puck much in the O zone. So their dump and chase was kind of working at that point. They were still the better team, but it was only working like maybe 40 to 45, maybe at the highest 50% of the time. Would you agree with that?
I thought it was doing decent. I mean, we were getting chances here and there. I wouldn't say it was super effective, but I mean, we're wearing down the team like that. And can you imagine a team having to play us doing that to them for 7 games straight? I mean, that's not going to be fun for them. So I enjoyed it.
Studenic would have a good shot off the rush. Good save by Fleury. There was a good stick by Miro on Zuccarello. At this point, shots for 11-9 Dallas with a minute remaining in the period. Sagan would take a shot from the point, and Gurianov with a really good chance to end the period. So ending the first period, it was 1-0 Minnesota, and it was really a period that I thought the Stars played really well in. I thought maybe they'd get 1 goal out of that period, but I don't think they would have gotten 2 out of it. What do you think?
They needed to score in that period, is what I thought. I mean, especially since like the Wild played a better first 5 minutes, the Stars dominated the whole rest of the period, though. And you said a lot of different names of people who had chances too. Tons of different people had chances, and still nobody could make anything happen. So someone's got to like take control of the game, is what I think, and eventually someone does in Robertson.
So second period, right off the bat, before we get to Robertson, first 2 minutes of the second period, I was scared because Minnesota was really pressing, and that top line for Minnesota was really spending time in our zone. Robo would put it on the net. Fleury would make the save. It was a good D play by Essa on a 2-on-1 Minnesota rush chance. So Essa doing his thing again, making sure that he's solid defensively. Stars would get their first power play of the night. It was Nick Bjugstad for interference, and we really got to take advantage of it now. The first minute sucked, and the reason why the first minute sucked at the power play was because the top line was not on the ice. And they couldn't even get into the offensive zone at that point on that first power play. That the second power play unit couldn't even get into it. Thankfully, though, the top line would score on the power play. It's Robo from Hintz, makes it 1-1. It was a really great pass by Hintz, and Robertson with just wide open net. He didn't even have to really do anything. It just kind of slowly trickled into the net. So it was a really good goal by Robertson, though.
and they were on the ice for like what 20 seconds.
Mhm.
It's crazy how much better they are than the entire rest of our team.
Gotta get a second line going. That's been a thing for the past couple of years. Well, after that goal, things started to get chippy. It was Jordy Ben and Glendening kind of getting into it. Lindell and Kaprizov were getting into it as well. And then I kind of wrote this because of the Gurianov defensive gaff, the first goal of the game. But it looked like that Bonus was starting to put somebody else other than Gurianov on that second line to get that second line going. It was Ben Zagan, and then first it was Studenich. Later it would be Radulov, and then Gurianov would eventually just kind of stick there because nothing else really worked. And that's when I got frustrated, and I was just like, Peterson? Question mark? Please?
Yeah.
So, and we've already talked about that a bunch, but is there anything else we need to mention about that?
No, I'm tired of talking about it. Peterson needs to play more. Everyone knows that. Bones should be getting grilled about it right now in the media room, which I'm sure at least Yusuf will ask him about it because he's been doing great about asking those questions. So I'm curious to see what he says in the post game.
And we'll go take a look at that here in a little bit after the podcast episode. But Pavs would get a shot off the post on a rush chance from Hintz. There was a good D zone play by Foxa after a Klingberg turnover, so Foxa kind of mopping up the mess that Klingberg leaves behind. There was a good save by Wedgwood with traffic in front. It was Eriksson Ek who had a really good game for the Minnesota Wild, and I already talked about that. So Hartman would get a slashing penalty. It would be the second Stars power play, and unfortunately, the Stars seems to be a thing for the past couple of weeks. They give up a shorthanded goal to Fiala, and that was the turnover by Radulov. And again, it's not a team mistake. It is a individual mistake that screws the Stars over. And both of those shots, you can't ask Wedgwood to save that. Either one of those.
Yeah.
It was two bad defensive individual mistakes, and that's what cost the Stars tonight, in my opinion.
Agreed. I mean, and it's the two guys who we know are our biggest defensive liabilities, and they can't hold it together. I mean, those guys individually have got to figure out. I defended Gurianov a few weeks ago. He has sucked. He's been awful. I mean, no offensive production. He hasn't even looked dangerous. He's a liability on defense. Radulov, he had that fire and was forechecking hard earlier a few weeks ago. It's gone now. I don't see it at all. He's still on the power play for who knows why.
Well, is there anybody else other than Peterson? If you don't trust Peterson who else are you going to put on?
Put young guys up there. They're going to play hard.
Ranta?
Yes, they're going to play hard. Oh, yeah, KB Ranta, definitely.
Save him for a Game 7. I'm going to steal James's line there in the chat. He's got it up there in the chat. But anyway, so that would make it 2-1 Minnesota. Minnesota would kill that power play, and I wrote that shorthanded goal is really going to sting. It's really going to hurt.
That's a turning point. I mean, the Stars had all the momentum. They had the goal. They got another power play. Like, it was like, okay, let's go. We're finally going to start piling it on. And then door slammed literally right in your nose. That's what it was. I mean, we should have rolled with this game as soon as we got that power play goal, and it should have been done. But
and for as good as
individual mistake kills it.
And for as good as the Stars played tonight, they never had a lead in this game, which, you know, that kind of surprised me that I realized that. I was like, whoa, yeah, they never had a lead in this game. Pavelski would miss a wide open net. Radulov would get high sticked on that same play, but there was no call. They missed it. And that was after, actually, that Kulikov got a high sticking penalty for the Stars' third power play of the night. So the Stars had two other power plays, and they didn't really do anything with it. And I mean, they do get the power play goal tonight, so I'm not all that frustrated about the power plays. Yeah. But, you know, especially when you're getting that kind of momentum in the second period, you got 3 power play chances back to back to back. And, I mean, Minnesota didn't even get a power play tonight. And you don't take advantage of that, that hurts.
Well, the thing that hurts the most is the shorthanded goal. And we've already talked about it is an individual mistake. I mean, there's nothing the rest of those guys on the power play could have done. Radulov made a stupid play, chipped it into the middle, which is the worst thing you can do in the world. He just wasn't thinking.
And after the Pavelski missed open net, I wrote at the end of the period, I really feel like the Stars deserve a better outcome through the first and the second, but 2 individual mistakes forces the Stars to be down 2-1. And then I wrote the terrible statistic that everybody put up there. Minnesota is 30-0-3 when leading after 2 periods. So they have not lost in regulation when they've had the lead going into the third period. Thoughts from the second?
Crazy stat. I thought the second was great. We should have been winning. I mean, this whole game is going to be missed opportunities. We have to be winning after the second period with the way we played it and the power plays we had.
So going into the third period, Kulikov would have a shot from the distance, but Wedgwood would make a save. And right after that shot, 30 seconds later, Robo gets a second of the game from Hintz, who would get his second assist of the game. And it was after a really good deke by Miro in the defensive zone, which sets everything up. And then I wrote, Fleury probably wants to have that one back. That one probably definitely should not be going through. But again, like I said, he'll make up for it later. What did you think of the second Robo goal?
It's a weak goal, but like with all the other saves, like we could have easily had 5 goals this game. And with all the saves that he made, like it's kind of just Stars magic that he lets in the softie instead of all the good chances.
And I wanted to give Gurianov some praise because I felt bad for the fact that a lot of Stars fans were ragging on him. I mean, he deserved to be ragged on. Let's get that straight first. But he had a really good defensive play on Hartman, like right after that goal when Hartman could have made it 3-2 early on in the third period. So Gurianov with a really good defensive play there. Seguin was great.
Pisses me off more because I know he can do it and he just chooses not to.
Hopefully he learns from his mistake, and maybe that was him learning from his mistake there. I wrote 30 seconds after that, Seguin had a really good shot, and Seguin was very prominent in tonight's game, in my opinion. He had a lot of good shots, but he's just not finishing.
Yep, tons of chances, but $9.5 million buys goals, not chances.
Yep. And I also wrote, at this point, Stars are winning a lot of the 50-50 puck battles, and they looked like they were going to win this game. The way that they were playing in that third period, Minnesota was just weathering the storm. They were just trying to stick in it to try to get something out of this game, and they did. After that mention of that, Seguin misses Gurianov on a good opportunity off of a Minnesota turnover. They get nothing out of that. Gurianov throws it in front after a bend faceoff win, and nothing comes of that either. But then I wrote this because you have to give credit where credit's due, and we already talked about it a little bit, but Joel Hanley has had a fantastic week for the Dallas Stars, especially as a guy who doesn't really get a lot of playing time, who is asked to get thrown into situations at random times when Hakanpää gets hurt and he gets thrown into the lineup. I think it was against Toronto or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but he has been a solid number 7 defenseman, and I would argue that he's probably the best number 7 defenseman in the NHL right now. If we're talking about, players who are able to slot into the lineup as well as he has been for the Stars.
Yeah, he's top 4 minutes right now. He can play bottom pair minutes. He can do whatever we ask him to, and he does it well, recently at least. So I've been extremely happy with the way he's played. He's demanding more ice time. Love what he's done from him. That's a complete 180 from me. Yes, I'm a hypocrite. Yes. Joel Hanley stand now.
9:33 remaining in the third period. The shots are 33-24 in favor of Dallas, and it would get worse. And you could easily see that the Stars were really, really getting the better of the chances here in the third period. Radulov would have a snapshot that was luckily saved by Fleury because he totally mishandled that puck. Fleury did, and it looked like it was going to go in. Fleury had a really good stick on a rush chance by Dallas. He stuck his stick out there, got the poke check. There was a really good block shot by Glenn Denning, and then I put, what a third period by the Dallas Stars. I don't really care if they lose. They've played well, but we deserve the win, and we didn't get it. And that was my thoughts at the end of the third.
Yeah, and we can just skip the overtime too because we already talked about what happened there.
Right.
But yeah, I fully agree. The Stars deserve to win this game. The Wild stole 2 points is what they did, and I'm sure they feel that way too. So, and like we said when we started, overall, I'm happy with this game. I'm upset about the 2 individuals, the 2 Russians. I'm upset about the decision to not play Peterson basically at all. Other than that, I'm happy with the way the Stars played. We're going to finish more. We have been finishing more recently. We're in a good spot, especially when we get the point. We're in a good spot. I feel as comfortable as you can being the last wild card team. So I'm feeling good. as long as we win this upcoming game we have against the Golden Knights, I feel like we're going to be golden.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, this is pretty bad.
So, just to throw some stats out there to get really specific about the time on ice. Peterson with 5 minutes and 29 seconds time on ice tonight.
Which is nothing.
Studenich, who I thought could have been a good fit for that second line if Gurianov is not on it, 7 minutes and 14 seconds. So both of those guys sat on the bench in the third period, and that's extremely frustrating when, I mean, and it's not like Peterson hasn't scored big goals. He's scored game-winning goals before for this team.
Multiple goals.
Yeah,
top 5.
Several. Yeah, so some of his, many of his goals of the 12 he's had has been of the game-winning goal variety, and I just don't understand why you at least give him a chance when you don't have anybody else who can go there. Radulov is not going to score. Gurianov had a defensive gaffe in the game, and Nemesnikov is not in the game. Who do you turn to? You turn to the guy who has double digits in goals, who's the next man up. We talk about that mantra with the Dallas Stars, next man up. You got to, give him a chance, please. Please give him a chance. We gave Otter a chance, and look what's happened. Look what's happened with Jake Ottinger. So,
and the reason it doesn't happen is because we're stuck playing our checking line on their first line. Our checking line gets tons of ice time, almost as much as our first line. And then we're like, oh, we need to play our first line. And then, oh, wait, Ben and Sagan are still here. We need to play them as much as we can. And then there you go. Peterson and Studenich shouldn't play any of the game. And it's just poor line management is what it is. He's not managing his lines well. Yes, we need to have that checking line out there. We can't have the checking line out there when their first line is out there every single time. We need to score goals. That's what we suck at.
Yeah, and the other frustrating thing about that is that, the first line had a ton of opportunities tonight, and they had a ton of time on ice tonight. But the guys, the fourth line still had too much. I mean, when you look at the time on ice for the fourth line, Michael Raffl with 15 and a half minutes. And that's not to say that they haven't
been doing their job right.
Right. And Faksa with 18 minutes time on ice, and I understand he's a great player, but you gotta get, when you're striving for offense and you gotta get offense going, you gotta give somebody who has been giving you offense, maybe not as much as somebody else has, but more than most of the players on your bench. And you're looking at a guy down the bench who's a rookie. I get it, but he's got 12 goals on the season. That's really good for a rookie. Give him a chance.
And the checking line has absolutely been doing their job. They've been playing very well, especially in the past couple of games against very good teams and shutting down some of their best players. But it doesn't matter if we don't score goals. We have 3 goals in the past 2 games combined. And somehow we got 3 points out of them. That's great. But it took amazing goaltending and perfect defending to do it as well. We see here 2 mistakes, literally. I don't know if there was any more super bad defensive mistakes other than those 2, and they're both in the back of our net.
Yep.
I mean, that's what's going to happen, and you're going to lose games like that because you can't put pucks in your net because we only have 1 offensive line. And we have these other players, like you're saying, who have offensive potential. They have to play more. You have to trust them against their other offensive lines because we can't play that fourth line that much because they're not going to score. We know that.
Okay, we kind of beat a horse to death with that, mentioning Peterson so much. But anyways, you got anything else tonight, Chris?
Still, I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm overall happy with the game. Very excited for the next game against Vancouver. Vancouver's going to be fighting for their lives because they still feel like they're in it, even though they're really not.
San Jose first.
So
San Jose first, then Vancouver.
Oh, dang. Oh, right. San Jose first. Okay. We have to beat San Jose. We're not going to, but we have to.
We're not good enough, but we have to. Oh, man. Anyways, just a quick look at the standings as of right now. Nashville has 89 points. We have 89 points. We do not have the wild card 1 spot because Nashville has more regulation wins than us, and we're not going to have more regulation wins than any team. So we have to have more points if we want that number 1 spot. Vegas is right
that
behind
number 1
us.
spot would be so nice.
Yes, it would be. Vegas is right behind us, and I believe they're winning right now 4-1 against the Calgary Flames. So they have 87 points, and if they win tonight, they actually don't. Oh, they did win tonight?
Their 87 is their win. So, yeah.
Okay, so their 87 is their win. Okay.
They're at 87 as of now.
Yeah, and they have 1 game in hand on the LA Kings. If they win that game in hand on the LA Kings, they become the 3rd seed in the Pacific. And now all of a sudden, instead of us fighting Vegas for the playoff spot, it's Los Angeles who we're fighting for the playoff spot. And Los Angeles does not have any games remaining against teams above the playoff line. So that's a scary thought. We have to win this game on Saturday. We cannot have a repeat of the New Jersey game. And I'm not even going to throw the Seattle game in that because the Seattle game was the second game of a back-to-back. We cannot have a repeat of the New Jersey game. Absolutely cannot. That is completely unacceptable at this point in the season. You have to basically win out in order to make sure you're going to make the playoffs.
Especially when coming up, we have a back-to-back Wednesday and Thursday on the 20th and 21st, Edmonton, Calgary. You're going to lose one, if not both of those.
Yeah, the top 2 teams in the Pacific Division.
Yeah.
So
we got to get – we really need both San Jose and Vancouver. But
which
we'll see.
Statistically, we should beat both of those teams because we're better. Okay, but all right, that's going to call it a night for us tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in for the after-game review for Game 74 against the Minnesota Wild here tonight. The Stars do lose in overtime 3-2 off of a really stellar performance by Marc-Andre Fleury and also Frederick Gaudreau and Kevin Fiala for the Minnesota Wild. So that's unfortunate for the Stars. They played a great game, but overall, got to bury those chances when you get them. Please go and use the promo code THPN the next time you go and use the DraftKings app. Thank you, DraftKings, for being our sponsor for our podcast. It's right up there. Chris is pointing to it if you're watching on YouTube. Also, go and check out StarcasticRemarksShop.com. We just released 2 new stickers. One is of me saying, catch you on the flip side, which I'll say here in a second. The other is a sticker of Chris saying GG Boys. So if you want to go check those out, that's there on the shop, and that's also the most direct way and the best way to support us and what we do here on this podcast. So thank you guys.
Bad time to release the GG Boys sticker.
Yeah, I know, right? I was hoping that by releasing that that would affirm the win for us tonight, but it didn't. It's okay though.
Positive affirmations are a lie.
Yeah. Along with Chris, my name is Ryan. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. And thank you all for listening whenever you do. Morning, evening, afternoon, whenever. Good night.